Happy Wednesday. It is that time again for Ready, Set, Real Estate. Before I jump into this, let me just sound check, because we're all on Zoom at one point or the other. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting sound. Okay, perfect. Woohoo! How are you? I trust that your week has been productive. We are continuing our Buyer Beware series, and there's so much to talk about. Oh my goodness, there's so much going on in the world as it relates to real estate. I am just overwhelmed with keeping up, to be quite honest, especially with, of course, having my day-to-day business and negotiations and studying. I'm in school, but we're back in school. I'm earning my JD, yes, my Juris Doctorate degree. So I'm excited about that. So this week or today, we're going to be discussing inspection terms. For those of you who are new, I didn't even give the background music a chance. I'm like ready to just get in here because there's so much going on. But okay, so DJ, hit the music and let's pause that and we'll come back to it. Hello, and welcome. My name is Lisa Gillett, also known as, or formerly known as, Lisa Porto. I'm a real estate broker, national educator, professional agent trainer. I am just excited about what's happening in the industry. There's a lot of historic things happening. Depending on what side of the coin or the market you are on, it's also been challenging. So we are seeing some highs and lows for different aspects of people, or I say groups of people, I should say. And that means tenants, landlords, buyers, investors, developers, agent professionals, appraisals, lenders. There's a lot of stress being placed on the industry right now because of what the market is doing, which is why I started the Caveat Emptor series. That means beware, buyer beware. Once I conclude this series, I'm going to be discussing reverse mortgages and as it relates to business matters to when the owner of a property passes away. So be talking a little bit about probates and reverse mortgages, because with this shifting demographic and our larger population, our aging population, a lot of them have reverse mortgages. There's a pros and cons to it. It's not a one size fits all product. It's a reverse mortgage as opposed to a forward mortgage that you see happening with a lot of the products. So look at, I got these curls just sitting on my hair. Let me see if I can. It's just because I could see it. I'm playing around with some color lately, so having some fun. That's all. Just kind of changing my hair color and just having some fun with that right now. I started out working out again. Make sure you're doing stuff for you as it relates to self-care, because again, you can easily get caught up in a lot of what's happening, and it can be very overwhelming. So I'm so happy that I started working out again, got back onto my workout schedule. I just I worked myself back up to 5 miles over the past couple months. It was a challenge. I had some pain in my knee, so I took quite a break. I think about 2.5 weeks. I took a break once I was working out. I was working out every day, and apparently my knees was like, you better knock it out. So I'm better now, and I'm back on the track again. So I feel good. Okay. So for those of you, I'm just going to drop my email. So just let me just do this real quick. That way you have my contact. If you need to speak to me directly, just so you know, if you're new to the show, there's over 100, 200 plus episodes on real estate that I continue as a series. I notice each aspect of the business or the transaction can warrant just a lot of content. So what I've done, as opposed to way I first started the show back in 2018, I think, and excuse my funny faces, back in 2018, what I did was I was featuring a lot of independent contractors and their role in the business. So people really had an idea of what real estate entailed beyond the real estate agent, broker, buyer, and seller. Like, go figure, there's actually a lot more people involved in this business. And so then we shifted into investing and taxation and the various taxation involved. And so as I'm discussing the buyer beware, we've covered on the series, we talked about price negotiations. We talked about last week was about the financing terms, and we talked about that. And then today I'm going to talk about inspection. I don't know, I don't recall if we covered appraisal during the financing terms. I may have. I think I'm going to revisit that again next week. And then we're going to finish with the buyer beware series. And then I'm going to jump into discussing the reverse mortgages and just some things that I'm observing and noticing, and just provide some information regarding that, because I realize it is very important for heirs, beneficiaries, and people who are going to eventually have to pick up handling the business of the deceased owner from that. So that's one thing we're going to have to address. All right, so let's see here. Let's see here. All righty. All right, drop a comment down below. Let me know you're here. Say press 1 if you're here. 2 lets me know you shared it. You know the price of admission. And let's jump right into it. So today we were discussing about inspection terms. And before I do that, let me do announcements. So much. We're not going to do a long drawn out class. You know why? Because I'm having monthly classes once a month, and I'm not going to do the show. I'm not going to use the show for a class time. So yes, free adult real estate classes. Yes, I have the youth classes. I've not put that on my schedule, but again, I collaborate with various organizations to do that. So I suggest you just follow the Facebook page so that you can stay up to date when there's a collaboration coming up with another organization that focuses on youth, different aspects of youth literacy. My program, Real Estate 100, that youth component is added as like a boot camp or a special presentation. I also have one coming up with another local school in April and or May, and some other stuff along the way. So you know me. I'm blessed and fortunate that I'm sought out to speak. So for the youth stuff, like I said, just stay in touch. And you can always go to Udemy. By the way, it's Udemy. So Udemy or Udemy. My entire youth real estate course is available there. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up. Udemy real estate team. Let's see here. Let's see. Youth real estate. Give me a second here. I just actually want to just give a quick shout out to, so here it is right here. Boom. So let's share that screen. Share screen. Application window. Oh, boom. Boom. Okay. So here it is at Udemy. Udemy actually has my entire course here. So it's actually on sale from $34.99, 63% off. So that's a pretty awesome deal. And you can go ahead and sign up and learn the basics. So I cover the 3 core concepts. Let me just zoom in here for you. So you can either get it from there. Of course, you can get it from my site as well. But if you are already taking classes on Udemy, you can actually sign your youth up for classes right here. So that's available at udemy.com. What else? Where else is it available? It is also available at Road, of course. So if we go to LASuperagent.com, I'm going to share that screen because you may be figuring out, how do you keep up with me, right? Like, I've got so much going on. There's so much to learn. So here you have it, $34.88. You've got the youth version of the class. You can sign up, purchase, add to cart. It's really simple, really easy. You've got the ability to order the books. And this is essentially the book that I'm teaching from right now, I would say, or referring to. So I wrote this book called Just Fell Out of Escrow, 5 Reasons a Property Does Not Sell, which you don't know will cost you. So this is why we are discussing it now. I think it's a great book for everyone. So not just buyers or sellers, but also industry professionals as well. I've got a series here on seller's remorse, how to avoid being sued for your home. Yes, seller's remorse is a real thing. Got some just tons of stuff, you guys. Like, it's all there available for you. So if you feel like you need to delve into something or you miss something, anytime I teach something, I upload it and then it becomes available for rent or purchase. So that's all available, okay, including merch as well. You know, I'm huge on merch. So good stuff. What else do we need to cover? I think that's about it. So announcements, that's what's happening. Let me actually go to the bit.ly link for the real estate class. So real estate classes are happening once a month. That's still happening. So you will actually go to bit.ly real estate class 2021. I'm going to drop that in the comments below. And then you can register. If you've already registered, you're on the list. Yeah, you really are. You're on my list already. And you are getting the Zoom link. Can you believe it? Those classes are free. Oh, go figure. Classes are free. So here you have, and you see that it's monthly discussions and webinars with industry professionals and guests. We had an awesome class for March. It's 4th Saturdays of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we've concluded now 3 classes: Becoming Mortgage Ready and Credit Worthy, Understanding iBuyers and Cash Offers was February, and March was What You Need to Know About Appraisals. I had a guest appraiser, Mark Williams of M&M Appraisals. And then this month we will be discussing rehab versus remodeling a property. I'll have a guest speaker for that presentation as well, because it's just important to know. It's good to know. We use those words interchangeably with actually not realizing they mean different things. So do make sure you get on the list and sign up for that, rehab versus remodeling a property. And then, as you can see, May, we're going to cover escrow and seller's net sheet. Everyone wants to know the bottom line. So it's important to understand how to read the bottom line. So we'll talk about net sheets. Then June, we'll talk about selling a tenant-occupied property. I think June 26th will possibly align with some of the things that are happening with the government and local ordinances. Some states, 3 states have already ruled that the CDC's eviction ban is unconstitutional. So as of today, Texas has opened the floodgates to evictions. So yes, unfortunate, but it looks like they've got to, keep things moving. And, there's 2 sides of the coin with that, right? There's landlords and there's tenants that are involved. Landlords are not just big Wall Street owners, but they're also mom and pop owners as well that are carrying the costs of, having to carry, they're carrying the burden, and it's a real thing. And I say that's a real thing is because there's a discussion right now, or the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has put out a public call for commentary on the rule that they will be proposing to stop mortgage servicers And if you've been following along, you know the difference between mortgage servicers and mortgage lenders. There is a difference, mortgage lender versus mortgage servicer. Know the difference and know which one you're dealing with, okay? So the CFPB is wanting to put out a new ruling out to not just the GSEs, the government-sponsored enterprises like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the USDA, which is the United States Department of Agriculture, VA, Veterans Administration, and the FHA insured loans. So they already are going to stipulate placing a ban. As you know, the current administration, the current presidential administration that's in place now has extended the foreclosure moratorium to June. And the CFPB is looking to extend extend foreclosure moratorium through until after December 31st, 2021. I'll keep my comments to myself about that whole thing because it's going to be an interesting thing come 2021 fourth quarter and 2022 as all the local agencies and government are thinking about how to help millions of homeowners retain their home. And it's just really a sad situation that we see happening right now. And at the same time, at the same side of the token, what we are observing is that people are just, this market is insane, the amount of overbids that we're seeing right now, and to what extent. All right, so you have the schedule here. We'll go through November, take a break in December, and we'll come back in 2022 and get to do it all over again with new topics. Some I may revisit and continue to expand on. For new people who find the channel and are excited and want to catch a live training, then definitely join. Okay, so subscribe is what I have to say to the mailing list. So make sure you go in and complete, right? So answer and then just hit submit, and then you're on our list, and then you'll get our Zoom link for our scheduled classes. All right, that's that. So let me stop sharing that screen. Cool. Okay, and I'm back. So let's talk about this. So buyer beware today. So we need to discuss first inspections. What does that entail? You know, there is such a thing called an inspection contingency in your purchase agreement. It allows you as a buyer to do your due diligence inspections, your due diligence. What does that mean? What does that mean, due diligence? It allows you time to really investigate what you're purchasing. I always equate this to purchasing a car, right? You just don't purchase a car without popping the hood, taking it for a drive, you know, checking the tires, the oil, and all the other intricacies of the vehicle to make sure you're getting a good buy. You know, you look at the Carfax report or whatever reports are available, you check that out, right? Well, purchasing a home allows you the same thing. However, in this current market, and I'm going to date this video, I'm going to date it because it's just all historic right now. As of 2021, spring 2021, what I have been witnessing, and I've been experiencing both sides of the transactions as a listing agent, meaning I'm representing the seller, or as a buyer's agent, I'm representing the buyer. I am experiencing the willingness of buyers to remove all their contingencies. Essentially what that means is they are willing to remove conditions in which they will purchase the property. This is essentially their out, their way to either say I'm in over my head, or the numbers aren't going to look right, or this property needs way too much work that I'm prepared to do, and cancel and walk away with their money. When you remove those contingencies, specifically an inspection contingency, you are communicating that, yes, you're still going to have your inspections and do your due diligence, but what you are saying is you are not going to let your findings be a just cause or reason for cancellation. I'll say that again. You can do your inspections. However, if you write an offer and you accept terms, albeit the seller counters an offer to you, and they want you to remove your contingencies before accepting an offer and opening escrow with you or going to settlement with you, what essentially they're saying is, I don't want you, the buyer, to come back to me and say, well, we found out that there's a route that's going straight into the pipe in the main line. And so we need to renegotiate, right? You can renegotiate, but let's say the seller doesn't agree to your terms of renegotiation for those issues. Then what happens then? Like any transaction with an inspection contingency, you can with an inspection contingency, you can choose to cancel, get your deposit back, and just walk away and move on. But if you remove your inspection contingency, that is no longer a protection you have as a buyer as a basis for cancellation if the seller does not agree to your negotiation terms or your request for repairs or your request for repair credits. I can say from experience, I've written some very aggressive offers, and it's not a one size fits all. If I'm negotiating with investors, experienced investors, and or developers, my terms are going to be very aggressive, as opposed to negotiating with a first time buyer or someone who is purchasing a second home or whatever the scenario is. I learn about the buyers so that I can understand the financing terms, and I am able to better see what terms would be agreeable and comfortable for both parties. The reason I do that, again, is because it's always in my client's interest to negotiate on terms that are going to be favorable for their situation. And of course, expecting the buyer to advocate and negotiate for their client as well. I oftentimes get asked, should I remove my inspection contingencies or should I remove all my contingencies? And I will say, unfortunately, in this market, what I'm seeing is all contingencies are being removed, including appraisal contingencies. Is it something I recommend? No. What I do suggest and say, do what is comfortable to you, especially in this market. Do what is comfortable to you. Do what is comfortable to you. You don't want to get into a transaction that you can't get out of. Part of the contingencies, mainly inspection, is so that you can get out if you find something about this property that is going to be too much to deal with, albeit in cost, time, and energy. Because sometimes there are those properties where you have to walk away from. But in a scenario where you look at it and you say, well, and you know what? I don't even want to say that, because I was going to say, well, if you are experienced, you may be willing to remove the contingency, the inspection contingency, but not without doing an inspection. But what I am seeing is either buyers are removing it because they want to get their offer accepted, and they're just signing on and agreeing to terms that would just really make my head blow right now, especially since I've been an advocate for buyers for a very long time. And this market right now is brutal. It's brutal. It's really brutal. Okay. So that's inspection terms, is being mindful about removing your contingency with that. Now, inspections also include pre-sale inspections. Be mindful of that. Are you purchasing in a city that has a pre-sale inspection? That means someone from the city is coming out. There are cities where they actually will send a city inspector to walk through the property and call out any illegal modifications or connections. And it would be something as simple as the GFI outlet is not 6 inches from the base of the sink or the countertop. something like that, or it's too close to the cabinet in terms of how many inches apart. It could be little things like that. It could be something as serious as having a washer dryer hook up in the garage, and not having that gas line running in the garage. Obviously, health and safety, concerns with that. And then, so if you are waiving your inspection contingency, you are agreeing to take on the pre-sale inspection. What I have done in the past is, when we get the report from the city, it's a pre-sale inspection report, and it's itemized of every item that they've called out and said needs to be cured, replaced, and or corrected before close of escrow. You do have the option to sign a waiver and say, I'll purchase the property as is, and then I will work on correcting them after close of escrow. And you've got to then make sure you keep the city inspector abreast of your progress. They will be flexible in giving extensions. You've just got to be reasonable with the amount of time you're asking for. Now, if you tell them, it's going to take 2 years, or you continue to prolong, well, they're not going to be happy about that. And you will see that they will file a lien on your house for those items. Okay. And getting liens filed on your house will prevent you from either doing things like refinancing, doing a refinance, or selling your property, or accessing any equity in your property, albeit through a home equity line or a cash out refi. So you've got to be mindful that these things can come back to bite you. And it's very important that you are aware of this information. So what I've done in the past is, I've actually walked my client right into the building and safety department to go meet with the city inspector about the pre-sale inspection, and have them ask all the questions they need so that they understand what they're getting themselves into. At that time, they can make an informed decision as to whether they want to move forward with this property or not. It's a tricky scenario, but I think that's where negotiation comes into play. And if you're purchasing for the first time and you're not being advised or guided or consulted about that, I'd be concerned. I'd be concerned if you're being pushed to, just go along with it. Especially when it comes to housing. Property comes with a lot of liability. The inspection period also allows you, and just let me say this, the pre-sale inspection was actually created by local city ordinances, I would say, to protect the buyer from any illegal conversions, meaning unpermitted work or additions or things that could be costly in the end, and not just costly, but could be a health and safety matter, that if something is not properly wired and connected, it could be a fire hazard, or, worse, right? That could lead to something detrimental once you own the property, once you purchase it and own the property and actually living in it, and you find a faulty electrical line, or the roof was done unpermitted, or a water heater wasn't properly connected and installed, or HVAC systems weren't installed properly. I mean, a lot of these things, if not properly done, can create a huge liability. And so it's important for you to recognize that the pre-sale inspection is done it's in your favor, right? Okay. So with that being said, I just want to remind you that yes, this is a very aggressive seller's market in terms of, because of low inventory. There was, right for a split second, it was a wonderful period that I must say I was able to successfully get buyers in during that period of COVID, where the market went to a standstill. We did see prices dip, and thereafter we saw this, what they're calling this U-shaped recovery that goes like that. And that's where we are right now. We're in this U shape. But let me be mindful right now, especially for those of you who are actively looking in the market and you're feeling overwhelmed about having to, do you have to remove your inspection contingency? Do you have to remove your appraisal contingency? Do you have to put cash above the appraisal if the property doesn't appraise? No, you don't. You don't have to do any of that. And this is why I'm doing this series, because you can say no. If we were in a market where more buyers would say no to the sellers, and a seller's agent, the listing agents, and say, no, I'm not going to sign on to those terms. Those are risks involved. That's a liability involved. Then we would have a more, I would say, healthy way of negotiation. We would have a healthy market. Right now, what is questionable is the how conservative appraisals are coming in, and the amount of overbid that is happening with pricing. And when I say overbid, I'm saying 50,000 to 100,000 to even up to $1 million over list price or asking price. I was just looking at the data earlier, just before I came on, to see what is happening across the country. And Housing Wire sent in some information about that, and I am just floored. I mean, a great time to be a seller if you want to, liquidate and cash out, and then use that money to reinvest when the market shifts, because we know it will. It doesn't fly high forever. And let me remind you, we are on one of the largest expansion in the United States, in the history of the United States mortgage, right? In the history of the housing market, we have been on quite an expansion. Cyclically, right? In cycles, we know real estate goes through its troughs, right? Its highs, lows, its troughs, its boom and its bust, depending what you want to call it. And we've watched the market go up and down. And so for those of you who are saying, yes, I know interest rates are low right now, but if you can get something at 2.99%, guess what that does? That means the cost of money, borrowing money, is very cheap right now. They're throwing it at you so you can pump it into the economy, and they want you to pump it in the economy because that's what stimulates the economy and this whole machine to keep going, right? I always say real estate makes the world turn because it stimulates other aspects of industries, electronics, furniture, construction, food, you name it. It's what makes it turn. So even to the point or I should say, to add to my point, this current administration is proposing a tax credit for buyers who purchase this year. That was similar to what Obama did during his administration when he gave a dollar for dollar tax credit. It came back to you if you put in your down payment and you put up to, I think it was up to 15,000 down, you got that back in your tax return as a tax credit / refund. So essentially you bought a house with no money down. We're looking at proposals during this administration. They're looking to do the same thing. Again, why? It's to encourage and stimulate the economy. My challenge or my issue with stimulating the economy with low interest rates and dollar for dollar tax credits is, what are people buying? There's not enough inventory, and the amount of demand is insane right now, especially as you now have this untethered class of buyers. Let's talk about the untethered class of buyers. And I'm going to wrap it up as we continue our series. Next week, I'm going to finish it off, and then we'll get into reverse mortgages and probates. I definitely want to talk about that. It's always exciting stuff. So the untethered class of buyers is a percentage of buyers that have now found that they can work remotely, right? There were some that were doing it independently, but there are now more companies that realize, this actually may work for us, right? You don't have to keep office space or have all that office space anymore. You can now have people work remotely. And these are 32-year-olds plus or minus that are earning healthy income, 6 figures, and have a purchasing power that can easily disrupt the residential and commercial real estate markets in the areas to which they desire to live in. Okay, so I've given you a key hint that if you are an investor, just pay attention to where this untethered class is moving to. I know everybody's paying attention to where Amazon's going and where are they buying and where Tesla's going and all that. That's wonderful. But also you can pay attention to demographic trends like that age group that is untethered and where are they looking to populate? What is attractive to them? What kind of lifestyle and living? And that's something key for you to think about as an investor or someone who's looking to purchase something and provide or fulfill a need for that demographic. Okay. That demographic makes up right now about 5% of buyers, or I should say of the working population, which is a key thing. There's a lot of things in motion right now that I would think is great to help more people qualify for purchasing property. The issue is when I called developers yesterday to learn where they are in their phases and the release of their phases and what's coming up next, I'm told every single development is sold out. Is sold out. And this is why we're seeing inspection contingencies being removed or shortened to a very aggressive term, right? 1-day inspection. I just closed a transaction where I actually, I represented the seller and the buyer did their inspections before we opened escrow. And so when they wrote their contract terms, they had no inspection contingencies because they basically did everything before they opened escrow. So that means they were truly committed. And we're seeing that to be the norm. But it doesn't have to be the norm for you. If this is not your temperament, meaning you're not willing to take on that liability and risk, listen, you know what they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. I'm saying that if this is not your temperament, and I've had clients tell me, Lisa, listen, I really want a house, but these overbids, I can't compete. Paying over appraisal, I'm not going to do, nor do I have the funds to do it. Removing my inspection contingency, I'm not comfortable. I'm going to sit out and wait until the market calms down. Because the way it is right now, it's really crazy. So with that, I say, do what's comfortable for you. Do your due diligence and know that even though this tends to be what's happening now, removing your inspection contingency does not have to be a norm for you and your transaction. My client is closing on her transaction this week, and she had a very normal. I wouldn't say normal. We went through the standard contract timeline. She did her inspections. She negotiated her repairs. She got repair credits. The seller fixed some items for her. Appraisal didn't come in as she expected, or appraisal didn't come in based on our contract price. We were negotiating those terms. The seller was really willing to reduce the price and do a price reduction. The seller is willing to make up the price. They were able to make it work, in other words, right? If the number didn't come in. But some sellers are not willing to do that. And it's okay. You may just have to keep searching and not fall deeply in love with that property and feel like it's the only one in existence that you have to accept such aggressive terms, is what I have to say about that. Okay. But on the other side, if you are a seller, there is not enough inventory. And if you are interested or need to sell, I'd definitely be open to consulting with you on what your options are for either downsizing or even doing an upgrade in taking some of those funds and reinvesting it into something else. All right. You've got my number, 323-488-3265. Again, that's 323-488-3265. As a gift, I've been giving out this freebie. It's the CFPB Homeowner's Guide to Success. For those of you who are existing homeowners, it has a great budget sheet and it has some tips in which I did the series of how to retain your property during hardship or financial hardship. Gives you some options. I covered that entire series, about six videos or 7 or so, but it also was referenced by this guide provided by CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So if you'd like a copy of that guide, send me an email, lisa@la8superagent.com. All right. So with that being said, listen, today was fun. As always, it's always great hanging out with you. I'm definitely wanting to make sure I'm committing to showtime, especially with everything going on. But I'm here for you. I'm here for you just as you've been for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you next week on another information packed episode on Ready, Set, Real Estate. Bye.